Updated I-26M. Threw my pregnant girlfriend 22F out because she refuses to pay rent or her share of the bills. Original story. Long story short, my girlfriend and I have been living together for around 10 months. When she first moved in, she insisted on paying rent and I was reluctant to charge her if it didn't work out, but she forced it and paid a month. Then I found out she's struggling for money, unable to pay for things, is in a lot of debt and lives month to month. She agreed with me that she'd start when she clears the debt. Fast forward to Christmas, I find out she's been stealing my clothes to give to her family as gifts. Another post on here. She lied for 2 weeks, blaming me until I showed her footage of her taking the things from the camera in the living room to watch the dog when I'm out. I later then discover through letters and text I've seen appear on her phone she's been doing nothing to pay any of it off, so I confront her. She tells me and shows me messages that her mother and sisters constantly guilt-trip her into giving them money and have for years. They'll message her on payday asking for it, and she feels bad saying no despite none of them ever paying it back. Her mom alone owes her over £6,000. She has taken a ton of loans out for her family and they leave her with the debt and don't pay it back. Luckily, her credit is now at the point where nobody will loan to her, but she still tries and does it for them. I also find out I went through her finances. Yes, I shouldn't have, but something wasn't adding up and I was being lied to, that in the space of 20 minutes she spent £300 on gambling sites. All during this time, she isn't paying a penny towards rent, bills, anything. She'll occasionally buy food shopping or trips out to Starbucks. I tell her enough is enough and she needs to start paying her way. If she can give handouts to her family and gamble, she can pay for where she lives, and she's taken me for a ride when she should have been saving and clearing debts. I make roughly 5x what she does, but I've been fair in that the bills are split proportionally to income. She'll earn £1,400 per month and pays £600, which includes rent and her share of the bills. I take on the rest, which is substantially more, but I believe it's not fair to take more. On the 1st of this month, she tells me she can't pay rent. She says she's paid out too much on her trips to Starbucks, food shopping, and I'll get it when I get it, but she doesn't understand why I need it this month when she's lived for free the past 9 months anyway. I've asked her to explain where her money has exactly gone, but she tells me I'm controlling and it's none of my business. In fairness, she will pay when we go food shopping, but rarely in comparison to me. I kicked her out as of yesterday and told her she needs to find somewhere to live. She is, however, pregnant, and she's using that card as a way to guilt-trip me and make out I've thrown out her and my child onto the streets. In my opinion, she is taking me for a ride and prioritizing her family that is using her over her own family she started. What's the solution here to getting her to see she's not treating me fairly? TLDR. Girlfriend hasn't paid rent for 9 months while she was supposed to be clearing debts. Instead, she was giving money to her family, gambling, and I've thrown her out because she's refusing to pay again. She is pregnant. Update. I sat her down and gave her an ultimatum early last week. I explained to her that we are a family and became a family when she decided to have a baby with me. I told her if we're going to stay together, she's going to have to be a lot more open, contribute, and no more taking on debt she can't afford, which brings it to my door when she can't pay. I also told her I want to see her bank statements because I suspect she has a gambling problem and is in some serious debt. She agreed to all of this and committed to showing me the bank statements when I ask, and says going forward she'll pay towards bills. I believe she's turned a corner and start getting along with her better, and she moves back in. As I was sat next to her phone last night when she went to grab a drink, her phone lit up with a text message. It read, "Loan accepted by ex-lender. Click here to accept." I immediately called her out and she starts crying, telling me she has no money left again for the month and she's had to resort to payday loans for some money. I tell her she should have come to me and tell her I explicitly said no more loans. She also tells me she won't be able to afford to pay towards bills again. She works full-time and brings home around £1,400, £1,200 a month dependent on hours, but a lot of the time she phones sick, so gets sick paid, which is a lot less. I asked to see her bank statements and she refuses, telling me I'm being controlling by asking when she's told me and I don't need to see them. That's the last straw for me. I'm almost certain she's been giving it away at this point again or gambling. I give her a scenario. Your baby is starving and needs food and there's none in the house. What are you going to do? She replies, you'll have to pay. That's fine, I'll happily support my son, I tell her, because the mother is clearly a deadbeat. So I asked to see her Facebook Messenger to see if her family have been hitting her up for free money again, and conveniently all of the family members that borrow from her have the chats cleared. She says she deletes them to be tidy, yet mine's still there. I told her this isn't going to work and she tells me I'm a controlling freak basically, and she agrees and I've not heard from her since. Moral of the story is she's too damaged from her upbringing, I'm guessing, and some people you just can't change. She still messages me asking how I am, but I'm just ignoring her, except from anything baby related. I need to move on. I know a lot of people question whether she's pregnant, how stupid I was to get her pregnant. I agree, and if it's mine. I've been to every scan, so I know she's pregnant. As for if it's mine, I've never suspected cheating, but she's a serial liar, so I will be forcing a DNA test through the courts. I posted on a couple of different subs to make sure I wasn't getting biased opinions. The above story is 100% true. I wish it wasn't, believe me. But my focus is now getting as far away as possible from her for my own sake. My wife 37F and I 38M want to adopt our teenage foster daughter, but FIL 64M is furious about it. My wife and I have two biological teenage sons, one older and one younger than our foster daughter. We have been fostering kids for many years, but the goal has always been to reunify the kids with their parents, which has happened successfully each time until now. 2 years ago, we took in our foster daughter, now mid-teens. She had been through a lot and was labeled as a troubled kid and not adoptable. I won't go into details, but the issue in this matter is that there are images of her going around amongst a certain community from before we took her in. We were informed by authorities about all of this before, so it's not like this came as a surprise after we got to know her. I'm not going to lie, it has not been easy. Our families have seen us struggle, but almost everyone has been super supportive. The first 5 to 6 months were the hardest. She didn't trust us and she was angry at the world, rightfully so. Then one random night I got up in the middle of the night and unintentionally ended up scaring her shitless, and she had a full-blown panic attack. She was okay after a little while, but it was like something clicked for her that night. It was like she realized that we were on her side, and we watched her change from this angry and sad little girl to the ambitious young teenager we know today. It started with her telling us thank you for everything we did, small things like driving her to practice, and she said it with a smile on her face. It was so amazing to see her feeling better and not so lonely anymore. From there, everything changed. She made new friends and got a lot closer to my sons, especially the older one. Her grades went from failing multiple classes to getting straight A's, not because we were nagging her, but because she wanted to. Each member of our household has developed a good and strong relationship with her, and the love we have for this girl cannot be put into words. We've reached that cosmic connection. She still struggles with a few things, which is totally fair after all she's been through, but she is working on it, and we are supporting her in every way we can. Overall, she's doing amazing. She's so strong, and I'm very proud of her. We made the decision to fight the system to change their verdict from not adoptable to available for conditional adoption, because we want to commit to her for life. We want to adopt her. Last month, we got the call that they changed their verdict, and we sent in our papers that were already ready, and things are looking very promising. The thing is, we haven't told her yet. She knows that she is now adoptable, but we haven't asked her if she wants us to officially adopt her yet. My wife and I have talked to our sons about it, and they are fully on board. We talked to my parents, our brothers and sisters, and their spouses. All of them have a good relationship with our daughter, and every single one of them is so supportive of our decision and willing to fully welcome our daughter into our family. Then there's wife's parents. FAL hasn't been awful, I guess, but maybe it's because I'm comparing what she said to what FAL said. We told them about our plan and asked them about their opinion. AmITheA asked if we were sure, as our daughter doesn't quite fit in. My wife and I didn't understand at all, since our daughter has a very similar personality as we and our sons do. But it turns out she's concerned about the visual side of it, as she's clearly not our biological child, and people will start asking questions. The thing is, my wife, myself, and our sons are very tall. Our daughter is not. She is tiny compared to us and has a similar eye color, but not the exact same. All 5 of us have the same skin tone and color and texture hair. Not that I think this matters at all, but the stupidity of it is unreal. Apart from height, she could pass as our biological daughter, so I'm starting to think this is a lame excuse for something else. I told her that people would ask questions no matter what, because even if our daughter was the spitting image of my wife, it's not like she suddenly gave birth to a teenager 2 years ago. And the answer to any question is very simple. She's adopted. Ta-da. It's not like it could ever become a secret now, so I don't get it. FAL didn't say much after that, but it was very clear she was not on board. FAL hadn't said anything, but he didn't seem excited at all. I asked for his opinion, and he just stared at us for a minute, and then he said, "Don't do this to yourself and our family." It's safe to say I was confused, but I had no idea what to say. After a few more seconds, he went off. He started talking about their family name, and he didn't want it ruined by a little ***e, and what would people think if they saw these images floating around on the internet. I was stunned. My wife couldn't find any words either and started crying before she just left. I didn't say a word while FAL finished ranting, but 1,000 thoughts went through my head. Eventually, he stopped talking, and I still had trouble finding any words to say. I just told him, "You are sick," and I left too. My wife is destroyed after hearing what her father thinks about our daughter. We have no idea how they know about these images, as we haven't told anyone about it. I'm 100% certain my wife didn't tell them as their relationship is not that great. My wife is closer to my mother than her own, so that would make sense. We have tried to hide this from the kids since this happened, but my older son sensed something was very wrong and asked about it. I told him our conversation with Isles about adopting our daughter didn't go very well, and they weren't supportive. He wanted to know why. I told him I couldn't tell him, but that it was serious and promised to talk to him about it in a few years when he's an adult. And I assured him that our daughter didn't do anything wrong, our plans haven't changed, and that it's FIL who is being unreasonable. My son told me that our daughter told him a few months ago that she didn't think Isles liked her very much, especially FIL. This happened 2 days ago, and we haven't spoken to them since. I'm not sure I even want to try Teo. For me, this is going no contact worthy. I want nothing to do with them. My wife is in pieces and has mentioned that she doesn't want them in her life after this. This has tainted our adoption experience for sure. I'm afraid, though, that if we piss FIL off even more, that he will start talking to our family about these images. I do realize that he will look like a pig in everyone's eyes, but I would like to spare our daughter from everyone knowing about what's out there. I usually talk to my mother about heavy stuff in life, but I cannot talk to her about this without feeling like I'm exposing my daughter by telling my mother more than I want to for my daughter's sake. Internet strangers, I have no idea what to do from here. How do I go about the situation with FIL without creating more mess than absolutely necessary for my daughter? Just to be very clear, there's no doubt in our minds that we still want to ask for our daughter's permission to adopt her. Our relationship with our daughter will not change no matter what FIL does or does not do. I realized from the first couple of comments that became unclear after the FIL incident. Sorry about that. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one possibly/hopefully reading too much into this. I think you have verified I'm not crazy. Wife and I had a brief talk after I posted and have decided to talk to her brothers and sister first about FIL's comments. It will be a hard conversation, but it needs to happen. Before I could get to it, my wife told me she wants to report the situation with her father knowing about the images of our daughter. Right now, we don't know what that looks like, but it has simply not been possible for him to gain this knowledge legally. There's a culprit for sure, but we will leave that to the authorities for now. Thank you for giving me a reality check.